Okay, today we're continuing our series of stories that illustrate some of the points that are made in the book Education for Life by J. Donald Walters. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about working with teenagers. My first 10 years of working in the schools here were mainly with young children, but of course young children grow up to be big children and teenagers. And I had to learn, as most people do, to start to adjust my approach and how to work with them. We live in a very almost idyllic situation. We're out in the countryside. We have a huge number of fields to explore. Some of the children have had horses in the past. So it should be a great place to raise kids, and it is in a large point. But we started to notice as the children got older that a lot of that joy was starting to disappear. That they kind of taking things for granted here. They'd been their whole life. You can imagine if you're 12 years old and you've lived your whole life here, you can get kind of bored with anything. So what you noticed, the behavior, they started to kind of get more kind of apart from everybody else, kind of a little clannish, just kind of spending time with each other. But it wasn't a happy time. It was kind of a grumpy time. There were kind of a lot of complaining, a lot of just low energy. And I wasn't sure what the heck do you do? How do you help that? Because the old things didn't work. So this passage from that I'm going to read today is called The Willful Years. It's about we have a series we call 6-year cycles of growth, and they go up 0 to 6, 6 to 12, and 12 to 18. Well, that we're concerned with the 12 to 18 age here. It says, idealism, for example, develops naturally with only a little encouragement during the 6 years preceding a child's 12th birthday. But it tends to be an idealism more sentimental than practical. With the adolescent's dawning instinct for expressing his willpower, there comes the inclination to put idealism into practice. Such at least is the opportunity of adolescence. Alas, it proves all too often an opportunity either overlooked or unrecognized. So, we had this group of children, and they weren't doing well. And the things that had worked before, telling them stories, doing plays, all these things that used to and really enliven them, they were just kind of tired of. So they had the idea that we would start what we called service projects, which is basically going out and trying to find places where we could make a difference. Again, turning the idealism into a practical idealism, as he says here, instead of sentimentalism. So the opportunity it opened up was a friend or the mother of one of our teachers had connections with the orphanages in Mexico. Orphanages down there are, sometimes it's because the parents have died, sometimes because the parents are in jail. Sometimes it's just the parents are too poor to support their children, so they turn over their children to the priests and nuns to raise. So we connected with this orphanage in La Paz, Mexico, and our teenagers earned the money to go down. They had to finance their own trip. That was another part of our approach. We didn't want to just hand it to them. We wanted them to actually put out the energy to earn it. So we went down, and we arrived, and it was a place where they had 100 children in it, between the ages of about 8 and 17. There were 4 adults there. There were 4 nuns and 1 priest. And they were in charge of this 100 children, night and day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. I think it was the fast path to sainthood for the adults there. But when we came down there, they just invited us to become part of things. They invited us to move in the dorms, share the meals with the kids, share the cleanup. Everybody in the orphanage got up at 5:30 in the morning, and they swept the orphanage. Everybody had these old brooms. We washed dishes, we ate the meals. Their meals consisted of rice, beans, and tortillas. And that was pretty much it. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we had rice, beans, and tortillas. We just ate it. That was part of the experience. And they had their toys were like playing with bottle caps or hand clapping games and things like that, which to our kids was like mind-boggling because they were used to their, in those days they were called, I forget what it was, Walkmans, I think it was the term at that point. And the idea of not having an electronic device to entertain yourself with was kind of strange to them. But we stayed 2 weeks. And like I said, we did everything that the orphanage kids did. The friendship started to blossom by the first or second day. We had learned a little Spanish, so we were able to speak some Spanish. They were trying to learn some English. So, but the energy, just everybody's energy, just started to pick up because from their orphans' perspective, like here were these people coming down from the big gringo country in the north to actually spend time with them. For our guys, it was just like meeting these people who were from such a different walk of life, and it just was almost miraculous watching the energy change happen. When we came back, that was the big test to come back. What's going to happen when our teenagers come back to the community? They were amazing. The parents were saying, "My God, they're asking if they can wash dishes. they're getting up early in the morning. They have all this energy." And it continued that way. We did other service projects to keep that energy wetted, but it was this opportunity to get involved and serve in a meaningful way where you made a difference in other people's lives that turned the corner. So it was something that worked really well for us.